us know him. His name is Gene Massey. So Gene Massey is a LA-based film director and a Sai devotee who films around the world for Sri Sathya Sai service organization, covering a wide range of Sai service activities, including medical camps, hospitals, AIDS, orphanages, and Sai schools. He has made a number of short films and documentaries for the Sai organization. In the past several years, Gene has filmed in 25 countries, including Russia, India, 9 countries in Africa, 8 countries in Central and South America and Thailand, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji. So Gene has been a devotee of Sri Sathya Sai Baba since 1980 when he began attending the Hollywood Sai Center, the first Sai Center in America. He is the past president of the Hollywood Sai Center, participates weekly in a homeless feeding project, and from 1999 to 2015, he taught an EHV-based life skills class at LA County Prison for teenage boys. He directed the first live internet broadcast of Shivaratri at Prashanti Nilayam in 2002 and was for several years a cameraman filming Swami's discourses. He is continuing his filming activities for the Sai organization and other charitable organizations. In 2013, Gene traveled to 21 states in India and over a period of 5 months filmed devotees doing service in Sai schools, Sai medical camps, orphanages, and villages. Gene often speaks about the wonder of Swami's mission and how it is inspiring so many young people and others around the world to take up the selfless service as a means of transforming their own hearts. So this is wonderful to have Gene here amongst us, and he's going to talk about, the topic we have been discussing, about transformation, which he has real life experience. He's been leading that, and championing that, and really thank him for coming here and doing the talk. Gene.
Hello, everyone. This is in 2 parts. The first part are some of my favorite passages, Swami's exact quotes from his writings, that relate to the subject at hand today, which is transformation. I like to start off a talk with a prayer, if I may. Dear Swami, please guide my words today and help me be a perfect instrument in this showing of your magnificent mission. Om Sri Sai Ram. All of those things that you heard in that colorful description are really only the things that Swami, in his infinite mercy, has gifted me the opportunity to change from the kind of person that I was and to continue helping me change, because this talk is also a part of my own transformation. In order to speak to you today, I have to go back and look at all the teachings and think of what am I going to say, and look at the different magnificent service activities and see which one of these would I want to show. And all of this for me and also for you, everything that Swami does for us is about our transformation. I'll have a confession that in my very first interview in 1988, in January of 88, I went with the Hollywood Center and we got called in for an interview. And we all came in the interview room and sat down, and Swami looked at everyone like this, and then he got to me and he went, "Bad boy." And he looked at me like, "How did you get in here? Who let you in? They're going to be in trouble." But it's an example of Swami's infinite mercy that he could take a person who really was a bad boy and put me close to him over the years and give me the opportunity to change. You know, it says in the Bible that God desireth not the death of a sinner, but rather that he may turn from his wickedness and live. This was in my faith, in the Christian faith. And Swami, in his infinite mercy, gave me the opportunity to change. At one point, when I first became a devotee, I had $1 million in my checking account. And I was doing all sorts of things that would be considered sinful, really, wasting money and just immoral activities and just really things that I'm ashamed of now, of course, but that Swami in his infinite mercy took away the money. He took away all the things, made me into a beggar practically, and in so doing helped me transform. And so today I'm going to show you some of my favorite passages about Swami's mission. And I don't want to come across like I'm giving a lecture. I'm not qualified to give a lecture. But these are passages that I particularly love and that have helped me, and that hopefully in our discussion today about transformation, they can help you. As we all know, Swami's mission is to help us realize our divinity. And he helps us do that by transforming us from one thing to another. What is it? And by the way, what is it that he's transforming? He's not transforming this body. He's transforming our hearts, because our hearts really is what drives us, what our ambitions and our desires. Swami one. We know that. And here's something really interesting. He says we're all avatars, Amsavatar and Purnavatar. Every human being is an Amsavatar. A part of the divine soul has become the individual soul in the world of living beings. In other words, we're all part of the super being, and we've taken a birth for whatever reason, and in this birth we are here to realize our divinity. The Jiva has come to this birth in order to reveal the splendor of the spark of the Godhead, which it is. You yourself are the divine principle. You are the God of this universe. And I know what you're thinking. If I'm God, why doesn't my husband treat me like God? All you see in the external world is present in you. Swami said to me in an interview, there is no creation, only projection. Everything comes from inside of us. The world that you see is really being projected from inside of you. All these things around you are your own reflections, as if in a mirror. Point an accusing finger at others. The whole world depends on your own conduct. If you're good, so too will the world be. And you know, we can change those people around us by our own behavior. If somebody is not being nice to you, you can actually melt them if you have love towards them. This is what he's saying. Now, this is really important. I put this passage here. You all know what the buddhi is and how it's really the Atma inside of us. This buddhi is, as he says here, the principal or organ in man, which gives to him spiritual consciousness. So that's probably, that is the most important part of us, is the Atma. That's our true essence. And so here's my most important passage of the day, if we can really take a good look at this. The body is the instrument for doing your duties, your karma, and your intellect, your buddhi, is shaped by your karma. In other words, what you do in the outer world can change yourself, can change your very essence. We've come into this life for this realization of divinity, and we can change it by our actions. So this to me is the most important thing, it's the second most important thing I've ever read that Swami. We'll get to the most important one in a second. Prayer and meditation, of course. You can win this grace, this divine grace, by engaging yourself in good deeds. So what Swami is giving us, a formula for realization, an actual formula for realization. And you're going to see what that formula is in a few minutes. And you're going to see how he is changing the world. I have examples of how he's changing the world and how the golden age is going to come about. You're going to see some videos that are absolutely astounding. So, how I behave and how I act can change my inside. And I often use the example of when we pray, different religions pray differently. Some lay down, face down on the floor and pray. Some stand up. My grandmother in Commerce, Georgia, was a holy roller. Do you know what that is? That's somebody that they would hire a minister who could get them all in a frenzy, and they would roll on the ground and scream hallelujah and everything, and that was their religion. That was the thing that they used to shape their booty. And when we pray, we get down on our knees and fold our hands and pray like this. We don't go, hey, hey. We don't pray like that. No, we pray on our knees so that we learn to be humble. All of these things is what Swami is saying. The outer rituals, all the different religions have different rituals, and these rituals are designed in different religions, but they're really designed to shape the booty, to shape our spirituality. Now here's another tough one. You consider yourself helping. It's not that simple. The human body consists of several limbs. All these limbs are meant to be engaged in serving your fellow man and not for other activities. Oh my goodness. This body is meant only, he's saying only for service. That's a tough one. I want to go have some fun, you know. I want to go do this and that. And you're going to see in a minute why, because the next PowerPoint is where we really get to it. But Karmaropassana is the only means by which the human life can be sanctified. What he's saying is, worshiping God through service is the only means by which human life can be sanctified, the only means by which we can realize our divinity. Now, I've heard of people that realize their divinity in other ways. You know, I've heard of people where they went so deep into meditation that they dropped the body. I've heard of that. You know, some people have gone so deeply into meditation. So we have to take all of this. What Swami is telling us here is that service can be done simply just by a smile, just by being kind. Very simple to do service. Even if you can't we make burritos on Sunday mornings. We get up at 6 o'clock and go make 300 burritos for the homeless. If you can't do that, you can still be nice and do many service in your office. Do such acts as would promote the happiness and prosperity of all. That is the path which will bring out the divinity in you to the fullest. So, we have a conference about transformation, and this is the formula. You know, the things that we do determines how we change our heart. And once you purify your heart, you'll find purity everywhere. if you fill your heart with love, you know, I still have a tendency to look at, I watch the news sometimes, I look at critical things. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. How could that happen? How could a person do that? You know, once your heart is so filled with love, you won't even see those things. So that's what I'm working on. There is no other. There's only one. All service is to the self alone. Service to man is service to God. We all know that. Okay, this is the most interesting passage that I've ever seen of all of Swami's writings. And by the way, I love Sathya Sai Speaks Volume 1 and Volume 2. If you haven't read those are just magnificent books. And one night I read some before I go to bed at night, and I was reading this, and it said, this is not a partnership. It's either you or I. Now, most of us, I don't know about you, I should talk only about me. We try to fit Swami into our lives. You know, we have a tough time at the Hollywood Center because we moved from Thursday to Sunday. And everybody's busy on Sunday. I want to go see my relatives. That's the day the kids do this. We got soccer. We got this, you know, and our attendance has dropped down because people can't fit Swami into their schedule. And so that's how I read this. And for many years, this is what I thought for many years. Swami is my guru. He's in my life. I thought Swami was part of my life. I'm going to go to Puja party, and maybe I'll get an interview and I can ask him to give me something. That's the way I thought. See? I thought, I'll go to Puja party, Swami can do all these wonderful miracles. Maybe he can help me with my business, you know, right? I thought, and Swami, you know, I go to the Sai Center. I'm a Sai devotee, right? Maybe Swami can help me. Swami was in my life. I had it backwards. I'm in Swami's life, right? I had it entirely backwards. So when I read this, I realized that Swami, for me, he has to be everything. There's not Jean's life and Swami. It's not a partnership, see? It's only Swami. You just saw the thing, it said there's only one. This is all one. We are all here with only the one. We're all part of the one. We descended from the one. There's only the one. So if you think there's you and him, it's not a partnership. It's only him for me. See? So, the next one is the crux of the problem. You say, well, gee, I'd like to do that, and I think that'd be great. I'd love to get some liberation. And so how do we do that? And why, you know, so everything you said sounds good. Yeah, sounds good, right? Okay, well, I'll do that, sure. All right, so what's keeping us from thinking that way? And here's the problem. The wonderful, delightful things in the world. The body is the problem. Because Jean wants all these things to come this direction. I want to taste things. I could have had 6 of those ice cream sandwiches. You know, the eyes want to see pleasant things, beautiful scenery. The ears want to hear glorious music, just beautiful music. And all other things the body wants is what causes our problem. These are called vasanas. The vasanas, they're the problem, but they can also be the solution. Moksha, or liberation, is, in the true sense of the term, liberation from the bondage of these vasanas. The vasanas, there's the rain, right? We made it. We're all back in here safely. Malina vasanas, maleficent tendencies that feed the mind and make it more and more uncontrollable and steady. Video games, right? Violent video games, violent movies, right? Nightclubs. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story about that. My first couple of years at the Hollywood Center, it was on a Friday night. It started at 8 and it was over at 10, and the nightclubs didn't start till 10. So it was perfect. I go to Budgeon's, nice Budgeon's, and then I hit the clubs, right? Couldn't have been better. Perfect Friday night, right? So, Malina Vasanas, the desires, you know what they are. I don't have to tell you. They spread and strengthen the desire for objective pleasure. You know, Swami says the satisfaction of desires lead to further desires. Mountains can be swept away sooner than these deep-rooted vasanas. Opium and brandy enslave you for some time, but vasanas grip you for a whole lifetime. Yikes. Malina vasanas. So what are we going to do? Are we doomed? No. Here's what we can do. And all these things, these desires that we crave, right? All these wonderful things the body wants. So what do? Well, there just so happens that there are Shubha vasanas. Shubha vasanas are beneficent impulses, reverence for the great and following their advice, charity, love, service, bhajans. You see these displays on both sides? Somebody had the desire to make those. Those are Shubha vasanas. They're non-binding. They lead to liberation. That kind of service leads to liberation. Shubha vasanas. Swami had a desire to build a hospital. He had a desire to help us transform. And we can do the same. We fill our lives with these Shubha vasanas, and when we do, what happens? Remember, our buddhi is shaped by our karma, our actions. These good actions of service, they shape our karma and help us transform. And what happens is, of course, engaged in serving your fellow man and not for other activities. I don't have time for the other activities. I'm so busy doing things. Now, I'm giving an example, not necessarily, but you're so busy doing things, you don't have time to get in trouble. You're so busy doing the Shubha vasanas. You don't have time. And do such acts as would promote the happiness and prosperity of all. This is the path which will bring out the divinity in you to the fullest. Now, you can't do it like Jean did for a long time. When I first started doing service with the Sai organization, I feed the homeless. Yeah. I go down there and feed those poor people. I've donated some money I bought some food for them. Aren't I terrific? I would make sure everybody knew I was doing service. Yeah, I feed the homeless every Monday afternoon. Yeah, I'm such a good guy, I can hardly stand myself. Right? No, that's not the kind of service Swami wants. Swami wants us to do nishkama karma without expecting anything, without looking for credit, without saying, I worked all the time in the kitchen and nobody even said thank you. No, that's not it. Nishkama karma. And by the way, that's part of the real way to liberation. If you can do nishkama karma, then you're not looking for anything, you're not bound by it, and you begin to lose the desire for the objective world. And then what happens is you started replacing these desires with other things. You've replaced it with the service act. Some of them this is what we all do. We start gradually and we start replacing them with these service activities. You have less and less time to get in trouble. And before long, our divinity inside grows. We become more loving. We become more like Swami. We become more concerned about helping others and serving others and helping the world be a better place and concerned for humanity and doing all sorts of good things like that. And at a certain point, you notice the pizza's gone. At a certain point, you become divine because your only concern is your fellow man, the humanity, and you become God's instrument, God's pure instrument. You look for nothing from coming back. You only become His instrument. There is no other. There's only one. And all of these, by the way, attract the grace of God. We all want the grace of God, and Swami's telling you how to get it. It's a simple thing. Every act of genuine seva attracts the grace of God. And remember, this is not a partnership. Not a partnership. I think about that all the time. Not a partnership. No, God. And let me tell you something on the same subject. There's nothing. First of all, I've been all over the world, and I've had some wonderful experiences. This body has experienced all kinds of wonderful things, senses, right? There's all kinds of happinesses I've experienced from the outer world. None of those compare to today for me. The opportunity to be here and to speak, to see devotees, to show the films of the things, the places that I've seen, and to see all the loving faces, and to get to talk about Swami and all the things that He's done in the world. What could be better for anyone? I am so happy to be here. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here. It outshines any experience I've ever had in my life. And I've had some fancy ones. I've eaten some fancy dinners, and I've been all over the world and flying in jet planes and had my own airplane and a houseboat and a Porsche and everything. Had it all. Nothing compares to this for me. And by the way, thank you I'm glad to be here. Now, let me show you the magnificence of Swami's mission. Because you say, well, this is nice, but it's the good, let's know more about Swami. I see the teachings, but I want to know more about Swami. And so I'm going to show you who Swami is by how he has inspired people in the world to do some magnificent things. Now, this first film I'll tell you about, it is, as they said, in 2013, is it rolling? I think it is. Takes a second. Is it rolling? Yeah. Okay. In 2013, I was asked to go all over India, and I went for 5 months to 21 states. Even interviewed Narendra Modi when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. And I got to see Sai service, Sai schools, Sai orphanages, Sai medical camps. I have 120 hours of video of all the things that I took. And so what I'm going to show you now are some wonderful things that I've seen the devotees in India do. That doesn't mean your service is not any less, but what you're going to see is really some wonderful service. Swami asked everybody to stop building the fancy temples in the cities and go out into the villages. And so what the devotees in India do now is they go out, they have something called SSS VIP, where they go out and remake villages. And they'll find a cluster of villages, and they'll pick one that looks like a good candidate for being remade, and they will go into that village. They'll build toilets, they'll build houses. I even filmed a cooking class for the ladies. They have something called mother-child, where the devotees, the ladies pair off with the mothers and show them how to take care of their babies. They even take them to the hospital for the birth sometime. They take the entire village to Puja party. They pair them one-on-one, and they all get on a train and they go to puja party. So they get to see Swami. When Swami was alive, they got to see Swami, get darshan, and they do service. Sometimes in the middle of the night in puja party, you'll go around and you'll see somebody sitting in a chair in the middle of the night in front of a building somewhere. Those are villagers that are doing service, often. And so what happens is, and one thing, this is a mandir that they built in this temple in Jharkhand, near Jharkhand. And Swami has said, if you want to build a temple, build a mandir, build it in the center of one of these villages, and that becomes the focal point for all their service activities, EHV with the children. It becomes the center of the village. So now the village is totally transformed, and they also get the people in the village to do service in the surrounding villages. And so what that does is, that village that they picked to transform becomes a showpiece for the surrounding villages who want that too. See? And so by making, Swami's always made pearls so that people can see how something should be. The hospital, he didn't say, devotees, go out and volunteer in the hospitals. He said that, but what he really means is, let's build a hospital and show them how a whole hospital should be. It's nice if you can go there and do a little service, but let's build a hospital. Let's show them what a hospital should be. And now he's doing the same thing with villages. And I'm going to show you something that will absolutely blow your mind, what they did in Visakhapatnam. But anyway, let's watch this. This is the mandir they built in the center of this village.
They are real, and they have been so blessed, I should say, that many of them, 10, 12 of the children have gone and did program in front of Baba. They had the Baba's Charan Sparsh, and they have done dance drama, speaking item, and many other things. And ladies here and gents also have participated in Jharkhand Bihar Seva program. So all together, I have to tell you, sir, the village has grown with Baba's grace, and leadership has helped. And
that's when they don't have a temple yet. It's the first, what they start with.
मुझ में ईश्वर वास है, मुझ में ईश्वर वास है, सब में ईश्वर वास है, सब में ईश्वर वास है। साई राम सत्य साई राम, साई राम सत्य साई।
You could see them all wearing those nice clothes they gave them too, This is in Sikkim. This is a temple they built in Sikkim, mandir. Beautiful people. On the border of Nepal, as you know. This is a very typical Sai school. I filmed the 100th inauguration of the one in India. This is extremely important because what they do is they take young ladies out of the villages and they teach them a trade. This is actually a school in a town where they take the ladies and they teach them sewing, how to make candles, how to cut hair, things like that. So the ladies have a trade. Very, very important. And of course, all along, as you can see, they're giving them Massey, along with this, they're giving them Massey education. You'll like this one because two ladies from Anantapur. And by the way, I worship the students, Swami's students, the students from his universities and the ladies from Anantapur. There are no finer people in the world. And they will have families. The ladies coming out of Anantapur and the gentlemen coming out of the university will all have families. And their families will have families, and their children will have children. So there's hope for the world because of them. There are two ladies from Anantapur, two sisters, that started this school. And this girl, the second from the right, is a tailor's daughter in the village. And the song that they're singing won a contest in Mumbai. They took them all to Mumbai to sing some songs, and this is this girl singing. Concert they gave that day, you know. Now, this is the school in Visakhapatnam, and I got out of they gave us a Toyota Innova SUV to ride around. We put all the equipment in the back, and me and my assistant would get out and film and get back in the car and go to the next location. Sometimes we'd ride 4 or 5 hours to get to a place way out in a village, tribal village somewhere. So the day we filmed this, we got out of the car in Visakhapatnam to go to film this school, and they had a parade with a band playing and everything. I said, what's the band playing? I said, they think you're a big director from Hollywood. I said, they're going to find out I'm not a big director. We're going to have to pay for all this. But I got out of the car and I came around the wall, and I saw this scene that you're going to see. And I ran and climbed up. I saw a truck, and I climbed up on the back of this truck to put the camera up there. I saw 2,000 children chanting Rudram. And this is indoor, which is another beautiful school. And all those children, they'll grow up to be mothers and fathers. And this is how Swami is changing India. You know, Swami said at some time in the world, India will lead the world. Culturally, financially, technologically, ethically, in every way. And this is why, because everywhere you go, you see things like this in the schools there. Just incredible, incredible. What will the future hold? Now, here's a wonderful scene that when I filmed, I was in tears. No, oh, that's another film. Okay, this is the arati to Mother Ganga every night. And as you can see, it's also the arati to Swami. That's how prevalent he has become throughout India, and how magnificent his work is. Now I'm going to show you my favorite piece. Remember me telling you about the village service? This particular little village is actually right near a town, right near Solan in Himachal Pradesh. This particular village is rag pickers. Rag pickers are people that go out during the day and pick up trash, anything they might be able to find to sell, and then they go out and sell it for a few rupees or something, and then that's how they make a living. They have no education, they have no hope, nothing. They live in shelters and have a very, very tough time, needless to say. So let me show you this picture of Solan, and I forgot to tell you one thing about it. Let's see, we'll go like this with it. Let's see, is this the one with the music?
Om Sai Ram. This is a small village where around 200 inhabitants, mainly the rag collectors, and very poor, from the very poor strata of the society, they're staying out here in this village.
The children in this slum area, they never used to go to school before. They never learned to read and write. We devotees visited this area. We saw that these children could gain confidence by getting education. So we started a regular education class. We come every day to teach them, and every Sunday we come for giving them good nutritious food. Very regular, we organize health and hygiene camps and medical camps, and we look after their basic needs. And the devotees are fully into it since 2 years. Last 2 years, we have been working very hard with these people, and these people have given us very good results. First of all, it was very difficult to tell the parents what this thing is. They were not even aware of how this learning is going to help them. They were enrolled in some government schools, but the parents never used to send them to schools because they wanted these children to go for earning a living for them. So every morning they get up and they go and collect scrap from all over the town, and that scrap they do, and then after that, now they have got so motivated that at 10 o'clock every day the children come and sit for their class. And not only these children, the mothers and their fathers, they also have started learning. And I think that let Swami's grace come to us and let this Sai love and action go on and on and on.
This is Radha. She is living here from the past 10 years. She is 11-year-old and now she is one of my students here, and she conducts classes also. And I think she is very much talented girl, and coming up with all the circumstances she is facing here, but still she is learning a lot.
तुम हो जाओगे, तुम हो जाओगे, अच्छे बच्चे कहलाओगे, अच्छे बच्चे कहलाओगे।
Very good.
10 10 10 कलका की बस, 10 10 10 10 शिमला की बस, 10 भारत माता की भारत माता की वंदे 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 ओम साई
I had tears in my eyes as I was filming this, thinking about all these young ladies that'll grow up to be a nurse, to be a mother. So I'll tell you a story about how it really works. I was at a gas station in Los Angeles one day, and this rather bedraggled fellow came up to me with a handful of batteries, which were obviously corroded batteries. And he said, "Hey man, you want to buy some batteries?" And I said, "No, I don't think so, but are you hungry?" He said, "Man, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten in 3 days. I just got out of prison and I'm in a bad way." I said, "If you're hungry, can I buy you some food?" He said, "Man, I would really appreciate it." So I looked around while I'm pumping the gas, and there was a Mexican fast food place over there. I said, "You see that fast food Mexican place over there?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "If you go over there and stand there and wait for me, when I finish pumping gas, I'll come over there." And he said, "You're really going to do that?" I said, "I promise I'll be over there in just a minute. As soon as I finish the gas, I'll come over there and I'll get you something to eat." So I did. I got over there and I took him inside. I said, "You can have anything on the menu, as much as you want. I'm not going to buy any beer or anything, but you can have anything, any food I want." And I said, "Can I have a Coke?" I said, "Sure." So he got some things. He got a couple of big burrito and a couple other things. And I paid for it. And we went outside. And he sat down on the curb right there by the front of the restaurant. And I sat down with him. And he started to cry. And I started to cry. He said, "Man, nobody ever did this for me like this." And it so touched me what Swami wants from us. Because if you do a service like that, there's no way that it cannot change the heart. See? By doing this kind of service, you develop greater compassion, greater love for your fellow man. It's wonderful. What is his Swami's formula for transformation? There's nothing better. Nothing better. It works. Because I walked away from that a different person. And the service that we do, sometimes they ask us to collect toothpaste and things like that, which is nice. And I said, no, you don't want to collect toothpaste. You want to go there and give them the toothpaste. And so we started collecting things. We would adopt a family. The Hollywood Center tried adopting a family and take them, laundry soap and things like that. Nothing better to change the heart. And so we say transformation. Transformation of what? Transformation of your own heart. And he gives us this formula, which is magnificent. I want to show you another piece now in Visakhapatnam. The boys from Visakhapatnam, I guess it's because they speak Swami's same language and they're not as far as some people in some place. they asked Swami, Swami, what kind of service should we do? And Swami said, very good question. The kind of service you should do is when you see something and it hurts you to see it, it pains you to see it, that's the service you should do. To heal your own heart. When you see something, you see some suffering, that's what you should do. And the next thing I'm going to show you is the boys from Visakhapatnam, and I'll tell you a little.
Shairam, we are Sai youth. We come here occasionally on Sundays to serve these poor people. We bath them, we cut their nails, we trim them. We also apply medicines on their skins which they have their diseases. And we love to do this service as our Bhagwan told that serve the poor, serving hands are holier than the lips that pray. So we love to do this service. We come here and we are very satisfied to do this service. Sairam.
They explain what they're going to do to them. And they tell them what they want to do. And some don't go willingly. I'm just kidding. And of course they feed them. And they cut their hair. They offered to give me a haircut, but I told them I was okay. I didn't want it. This lady had lice in her hair and requested that they shave her head. And then they give them a bath. And then the best part, you're going to see something here in a second that's really great. They got a heater for the water. So they pour warm water on them. They don't give them a cold bath, they give them a warm bath. And they give them a manicure. And then they put medicine on their sores. And they've collected clothes, fresh, clean clothes for them. They choose whichever they like. And they've got a dressing tent they can change in.
says he's grateful for receiving a bath, for feeling clean, for these new clothes. He feels like a new man and he's grateful for this.
Another wonderful example of people that will know about Swami. They'll know about his love. And of course, these same gentlemen from Visakhapatnam on Sundays also do service in the prison. And it's a men's prison. And they go in there and they bring huge vats of food. They told me that the only other food they get has maggots in it. And it's just terrible. And they go in the prison, they make nice, good, fresh food for them. They cut their fingernails, they bathe them, and they go in the prison and do that. The same, these boys from Visakhapatnam. Now, speaking of the boys from Visakhapatnam, I'm going to show you one of the best services that I've ever even heard of. I didn't film this, but I have a PowerPoint to show you of pictures to give you an example of what it was and how wonderful it is. This is in a tribal area up in the mountains, and they were telling about it. Obviously, it's a serious problem. In these tribal areas, the government doesn't even go some places. It's so far up in the mountains. This particular project was 18 kilometers from the nearest road. And I was telling them, I said, why don't you get a 4x4 or something to call your stuff up? They built this water project up for the tribal area. And they showed me some pictures of it. You'll see why even a 4x4 won't go up in there. This is the people from the typical tribal area where they do the service. This is where they went. There's no way to get up there in any kind of vehicle. They had to walk. No medical facilities, no schools, no drinking water. No proper implementation of government schemes either. Now, the Sai organization in India is known for doing things the government doesn't do. The government doesn't always go everywhere they're supposed to with all the charities and things like that. So the Sai organization picks up the task to do that in many areas. And this is a good example. This is a typical what it looks like. 20% of the diseases are caused by, you can see the guy's got a worm in his hand that's found in the water. Obviously, you see things like this. So the boys saw this, like Swami said, they said, this hurts to see. And so this is where we'll do our service. But I'm sure the young adults here do this kind of service too, right? Now, what they do is they identify the villages first. They know where to go and what to do, and they do a really good overview, a look at it to see what is going to be needed, what supplies are going to be needed, what does it cost, what it's going to cost them. Do we have the resources to cover this? Swami says don't undertake something unless there are resources there to pay for it. We don't have an 800 number in a cable show to collect donations. So and they always interact with government officials. They don't try to prove the government wrong or anything like that. And this is climbing to where they are doing the service. Interaction with the villagers. At first the villagers don't know what this is. What are you going to do and why are you going to do this? This is very typical. They would say, one lady said she found a rather soiled rag in a hut. And she said, you're wiping a baby with the same rag? And she said, we go once a week, we rinse it out at the spring. So this is the kind of intense poverty that we're talking about here. And there is a spring, and so they figure out a way how we're going to get the water from the spring to the villages, and it needs to be gravity fed because there's no electricity up there. So they have to figure out a way to gravity feed it. And then they do complete layouts, diagrams, smart young fellas that do the surveys and know what to do and know how to make it work. And then they get the supplies and they carry it there. The villagers help. The villagers now know what they're doing and how they're doing it. And the villagers help them. They lay pipes. They build water tanks. They carry bags of cement on their backs up these mountain hills. And they do this kind of construction. As you can see, it's a huge job. And they paint it. They dig the wells and do everything necessary. They lay the pipe from the spring to the village. Then they have a ceremony. Picture taking. 40 tribal villages benefited by this water project. But it's not ending. They're still doing it all over. These are some of the different villages that have benefited. 450 tribals benefited there. 1,200 tribals benefited. If you can imagine not having any water or having to walk 5 kilometers to the spring and carry 3 or 4 of those big things on your head back in order to have any water at all. That's what you're dealing with here. And so, now, the thing to remember here is, and they also do things, the distribution of clothes and blankets and medical camps. This is just the water that they do at the villages. They do other things, medical camps. Narayan Seva, I've got a wonderful film to show you about that too. Drinking water for cattle even, you know. Look at all the villages. And look how far they are from Vizag, some of them 200 kilometers. Do you think any of these young fellows doing this had any time to get in trouble? This is Shubhavasana. This is what we're talking about here. This is how they do it. They gravity feed from the spring to the different places. And they sometimes will hire professional masons that know how to do the bricks and cement and things like that. So, and this is the real issue here. Imagine this work being done all over India, all from Swami's inspiration. Swami inspired them to do that. And most of us, even if we have tremendous grace, we only spoke to Swami a couple of times, maybe, if ever, right? We only maybe once or twice got darshan, you know, most of us. And yet, that much to make us want to do these things. And to have an event like this where, you know, we talk about our transformation and we go home more determined than ever to be great devotees. And so, am I keeping you from your nap? Maybe if I tell a joke, would it perk people up a little bit? I'll tell you a joke. Do you know why Buddha could not use his new vacuum cleaner? He didn't have any attachments. That's actually that's a Sam Sandweiss joke. I stole it from Sam. give you one more. Did you hear about the snail that got run over by a turtle? After the accident, he was being questioned by the police. He said, I don't know, it all happened so fast. So let me show you Modi in it. Okay, here's a piece about 6 minutes. Divine love has power, the power to change the world. Divine love can transform the heart of all mankind. Divine love took a human form to be with us, to love and serve us. He came to save us. He came to bring about the golden age, a time when all mankind will love and serve one another. Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. He was our teacher, our guru, guide, and friend, our beloved. This is his story of divine love, the mission of Sri Sathya Sai. I can read these titles. If he can't read them,
विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में जितनी शोध की चर्चा होती है, सहस्त्रों वर्ष पहले ऐसे कई शोध हैं जो हमारे ऋषियों के मुनियों के नाम पर है। यूं तो वो संत थे, लेकिन किसी न किसी कॉज के लिए समर्पित थे। और अगर इतिहास के झरोखे से देखें तो ढेर सारे आज भी पूरा खगोल शास्त्र, हिंदुस्तान के संतों ने, आचार्यों ने, विद्वानों ने जो बातें कही हैं, तो आज भी पूरा विश्व स्वीकार करता है। और उस अर्थ में भारत में संत व्यवस्था, संत परंपरा, त्याग और तपस्या सिर्फ व्यक्तिगत सुख के लिए, व्यक्तिगत मोक्ष के लिए, व्यक्तिगत उन्नति के लिए नहीं रही है, वो सर्वजन हिताय, सर्वजन सुखाय रही है। और उसी परंपरा में एक तेजस्वी सितारा साईं बाबा थे, उसी परंपरा से थे वो, और जिसमें आध्यात्म को उन्होंने जन कल्याण की ओर चैनलाइज किया था। उन्होंने अध्यात्म को कभी भी कर्मकांड से बांधा नहीं था, उन्होंने अध्यात्म को सेवा से बांधा था, एजुकेशन से बांधा था, परिवर्तन की ओर बांधा था, व्यक्तिगत जीवन में त्याग और तपस्या के और ले जाने की ओर मोड़ा था। उन्होंने मठ मंदिरों के पीछे ताकत नहीं लगाई थी। अगर उन्होंने शक्ति लगाई तो गांव-गांव पीने का पानी कैसे पहुंचे। उन्होंने शक्ति लगाई तो गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति को एक भी पैसे के खर्च के बिना उत्तम से उत्तम आरोग्य की सेवाएं कैसे मिले। कोई भी व्यक्ति दुखी हो, पीड़ित हो, लेकिन शारीरिक व्याधि के लिए पैसों के कारण अगर परेशान है तो बाबा उसकी उंगली पकड़ते थे, उसे बचा लेते थे। और यही बातों की एक पूरी श्रृंखला है।
In order to deserve the sacred name Seva, the activity must be freed from all attachment to the self and based on firm faith in the divine resident in every being. Seva has to be considered as worshipping the form that God has assumed to give the Sevak the chance of worship. When a hungry Nara is served a hearty meal, what is being done is Narayan Seva. For Nara, man is only a form and a name. projected by Maya, human ignorance. On Narayana, God.
All Sai service is performed to transform the heart of the server. The devotees of Bhagavan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, do not look down on those they serve. They look upon all they serve as incarnations of the divine. It is in this spirit that they serve. Their service is selfless and filled with sharing the love of God. So, Narayans being served are served love with their food. Serving with love transforms the server. As Bhagavan's love flows through them, it transforms the heart and takes the server on the path to divinity.
Sairam, from City Samiti, every day we are giving cooked food for the poor and old-aged people to their doorsteps.
Every day.
While giving this food, we are offering the prasadam to Swami. After Brahmarpanam, the same food will be kept in the carriages and it will be given to the doorsteps of the poor people for their lifetime. This is everyday process. Some other people who are able to come down, they will come and take food in the Mandir complex, that is Nitya Narayan Seva. This is the two activities we are doing, food in carriages and food directly supplied to the devotees. This 22 carriages from the center is going on every day to their doorsteps, and around 65 old devotees, old people will come and take their cooked food here. This side.
Today, the Sathya Sai Seva Samiti Dibrugarh Center do Narayan Seva. This service is doing every last Sunday of the month. So the poor people is feeding in this Narayan Seva. So Dibrugarh Seva Samiti perform this Seva every Sunday, last Sunday of the every month. It's our regular service activity.
Narayan Seva often includes delivery of food items directly to those Narayans in more remote areas.
In addition to feeding for these people, for last 3 years we are regularly give rice, pulses, etc. In addition to providing their food once in a week, Dibrugarh Sathya Sai Seva Samiti made this house for dwelling because they have not the capacity to build a house. So for our capacity we made this house, and 2 more houses we have built.
They built 3 houses. Even in distant tribal areas where Sai doctors do medical camps, they will also bring food to serve the villagers. This will often be the most nutritious food they have had in weeks. Before I play one of my favorite Darshan films, to close, I wanted to tell you one thing. I was in a remote village somewhere, and they were just doing some wonderful service. There was a whole group of devotees, ladies and men, doing all kinds of work in the village, and I was lining up a shot, and I said, put a scarf on that lady right there. She's got to have a scarf on. Because I wanted, look, so you can tell who's being served and who's the servers. I thought everybody should wear a scarf. I said, right? They said, oh, we can't do that, sir. I said, yeah, sure, if somebody's got an extra scarf around here, don't you just borrow that lady's scarf there and put a scarf on her. The guy came over to me and said, sir, I'm so sorry, but that lady has not earned her scarf yet. That's how seriously they take their service. You have to earn your scarf. The people you saw there wearing the scarves, you have to earn them. I was blown away, by the dedication. It was, I'm prone to exaggeration, but this is not one of those times. We got out of the car. It was 110 degrees, and I'm not kidding you. It was in that scene in Jharkhand. It was so hot, and there stand those ladies in their saris, and they'd been there for 2 or 3 hours already, teaching their children the Vedas or the EHV and things like that. You would see such dedication, such love flowing out of them to the people. And when they would serve them, we have a tendency when we feed the homeless, you go, you want some more? Okay, yeah. How about you, sir? You want some more? Okay, yeah. You want a sandwich? Here you go. They would go, hi, how are you, ma'am? Can I help you with something? And the love would flow out of them. And that love is what transforms us. So, when you serve, I'm sure you have all kind of service projects, and I'm sure you're doing this already, and I'm probably preaching to the choir, but for me, that was the thing that floored me more than anything else, is just how much love they had in all of the service that they did. And that's what so touched me. He came and everything. He left. He didn't hear it. And they said, Swami, do you want us to play the orchestra? Yes, Swami said, yes, come tomorrow. So they came again the next day. Set up, tuxedos, all the instruments, all the little things that hold all the instruments and everything, Swami came, and they got all set to play, and he left. I said, Swami, you want us to play the orchestra? And Swami said, come tomorrow. So he came again the third time and set up. And again, Swami left, never having heard that international orchestra that year. And so everybody was wondering why. And so we asked around, they were fighting. The people in the orchestra were not in agreement, and they were disagreeing with the conductor and things like that. Swami doesn't want an offering like that. So Gene's experience and that taught me, if you can't work in harmony, we shouldn't do it, All has to be done with love. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yes, I could do it with love, but it just wasn't for that person. There's so much trouble. So this is my favorite film I like to close with. And tomorrow I got some more stories for you and stuff, but this is one of my favorite. And as you watch this, look at the love in their eyes as they look at Swami, because it's a close film of them interacting with Swami, and it's so much love in their eyes. Let's see here, what do I do here? Thank you very much. Good morning and Sai Ram to everyone. Beautiful bhajans. You know, I don't know what it is, but your bhajans are so alive, so beautiful, such intensity. That's just beautiful, just beautiful. Today, we want to continue to talk about transformation. And I'm going to tell you some stories of people that have been transformed by Swami, some very entertaining stories. I guess the first one would be, did you know that Swami actually approves of gambling? Did you know that Swami approves of gambling? Have you heard about that? No? There's a man named Selvan in Cape Town, South Africa, that I stayed with. And Selvan, for many years, was a gambler. He loved to go to casinos. He loved his cocktails. He loved smoking cigarettes. He had a small business. He had a janitorial service. And over the years, he had managed to save in US dollars about $300,000. And he got involved with Swami and started going to the Sai Center and got involved in the Sai activities. And he heard about the wonders of Sai education. So he took his entire nest egg, his 300,000, and gave it to build the Sai Newcastle School. I'm not sure, I think it's near Durban. And the devotees got together and they hired a brick mason to show them how to lay bricks. And the men laid the bricks and the ladies made the lunch, and they built a Sai school with Selvan's $300,000. And Selvan says now he gambles on children's lives. He said that's replaced his gambling, his casino gambling, with gambling on children's lives. So that's the kind of gambling that Swami likes, if you want to. And I was thinking yesterday, the film that we showed yesterday of Solon. And do you remember that girl, Radha? Such a beautiful little girl. I was thinking, one of the things that I have often said after I showed that, imagine seeing Radha go to college from that little village. Imagine a group gets together and pays for her college education that she would not have had. What could you buy that would bring you that joy, knowing that Radha went to college? See? And this is how Swami is changing the world, because he's making us realize real joy. Let me tell you, there's some wonderful things to be had with wealth. Delightful trips and vacations and fancy dinners and all kinds of wonderful things you can buy when you have a lot of money, right? What could you buy that would bring you the genuine joy of seeing Radha graduate from college, knowing where she came from, and knowing that was because of your and your friends' efforts that she went to college. And so that's how Swami is changing us, to make us happy, genuinely happy, because when you have those things, and let me tell you, I had a lot of stuff. It's all gone. It's fleeting, it's gone. But what I have still in my heart is the times with Swami and the things that I've done for the organization, and working with you and making the films and going all these places. What could I have done with money that would have brought me this joy, see? So that's how he's changing us. I want to tell you about, I have actually met Sai saints. A Sai saint, to me, is somebody that doesn't think about. He's knows that it's not a partnership. It's either you or I, and for them it is Swami. They all only think about Swami. Their entire life is about Swami, and their entire life is about service. And he may not like me telling you this, but there's a man in London. His name is Dr. Upadhyaya. And Dr. Upadhyaya is an ophthalmologist. He does eye surgeries in a hospital in London. And I've filmed him in South America many times, in Africa, India, Russia. There are over 10,000 people in the world are not blind because of him. He's given over 10,000 free cataract operations to people in impoverished areas. And he worked for Mother Teresa for 14 years prior to becoming involved with Swami. And I'll tell you a funny story. He was taking a lot of time off from the hospital to go work with Mother Teresa, but he didn't tell anybody about that. And one night, one day he came into the office and said, "I'd like to take the afternoon off." And they said, "What is it this time?" And he said, "Well, Mother Teresa wants to see me." And they said, "Can't you think of something better than that?" That night, they saw him on television with Mother Teresa. And so the next day they called him in. They said, "Why didn't you tell us you're taking off to this work for Mother Teresa?" He says, "Well, I don't brag about what I'm doing, and I'm just a servant." So he began taking, when he got involved with Swami, he began taking doctors from the hospital with him, South America to India, and they would all come back to the hospital and tell everybody about their experiences. And he got very well known for taking groups on these medical camps. Just to show you what one person can do, they now, in this hospital in London, they change the entire schedule of all the doctors in the hospital's entire schedule to accommodate his medical camps. And that's to show you just what one person can do. He's just an ophthalmologist that does surgeries. But by being such a devotee and so concerned constantly about service, you begin to change those around you. And we can do that too when we go in our office or wherever we work. We can, you take a Sai student like Dr. Shaw, you put him in a situation and they change the vibration of all the people around. You can do that. We just by being such a good person, you can change the vibration of. For example, if Mother Teresa were here now, or if Swami were here now, imagine how it would change the vibration in the room. We'd all behave differently. Mother Teresa's here, we'd all be sitting up straight, wondering, what, my goodness, Mother Teresa's or Swami's here. You know how you are when Swami would. So that, you can be like that, but you can change the people around you. Well, Dr. Upadhyaya is very well known in London, and this is a transformation story. There was a man named Bob who was going to, they called Dr. Upadhyaya and they said, "We've got a man that's going to commit suicide. He's very, very distraught. He's very, very upset. And we know you work with a lot of people. Would you be willing to talk to him?" And he said, "Well, of course I will. Have him come see me." So the man, this distraught fellow, came to see Swami, and Dr. Upadhyaya said, "I understand that you've actually considered suicide, killing yourself." And he said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm going to kill myself." He said, Dr. Upadhyaya said, "Well, I'm wondering if you could do me a favor." And he said, "What?" He said, "I wondered if you could wait 30 days before you kill yourself." And he said, "Why?" He said, well, this is during the Bosnian War. He said, we've got this situation in Bosnia where people are starving to death. And we've got a semi-tractor trailer truck full of food supplies for them. But we can't get anybody to drive it there because it's through the bombing, terrible, terrible bombing areas. It's very dangerous. We can't get anybody to go there. And since you were going to kill yourself anyway, no, he didn't really say that. I'm only kidding. No, he said, would you be willing to drive that truck to Bosnia? And the guy thought about it for a minute and he said, yeah, I'll do that. So they trained Bob to drive this big truck, and he drove it through the dangerous area and got there with all this food. And he was a hero. People carried him around on his shoulders. You want to marry my daughter? I mean, just... And all of a sudden, he had something to live for. And he did it again and again, and he became known as this giant of a man who was willing to take those kinds of chances and drive this food to these people. And it totally changed his life. He became a devotee. I saw him speak in Los Angeles many years ago. And that's an example of how service can actually change you. And there's another story, a man named Victor. Victor was a corporate raider. Now, a corporate raider is generally someone who goes in and buys up all the stock of a company and then loots it for everything that's in the company and then sells it off piecemeal. This particular fellow would do that. He would go in and buy up corporations and buy up all the stock and take control of the company and then sell it off piecemeal and keep the pension money for himself. He would actually take people's pensions. Imagine the kind of fellow that would do that. Millions of dollars, and put it in his pocket. Well, Victor got caught. And he hired a big fancy $1 million Miami lawyer, and they went before the judge for sentencing. He was found guilty, of course, and he went before the judge for sentencing with this fancy lawyer, and the judge said, Victor, since you're 82, we're going to give you community service. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the first day you miss, you go to federal penitentiary. So all of a sudden, this corporate raider was in the food line feeding the homeless. And people would come up to him with tears in their eyes. Thank you, sir. God bless you. I haven't had anything to eat in 3 days. Thank you so much, sir. You're such a good man. They didn't know Victor's story, And it changed him. He built an eye clinic. He started using the money, his wealth properly. He built homeless shelters. He got them decent food in the shelters and stuff, because that service changed his heart from a fellow with some quite bad actions into a man who was doing service. So, there's a story. There's a story of a lady who was in the interview room with Swami, and she said, "Well, Swami, you'll just do anything to see us transform." And he got very serious, and he reached over to her and grabbed her arm and said, "If I have to break your arm." He's very serious about seeing us change. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story about Dr. Pal Dahl, who is he's head of education and Jack in Australia, and he runs the.
He's also head of the international education.
Education. Yeah. I filmed him in Australia. He has the institute there for the Sai education. But Dr. Pal used to be a very famous thoracic surgeon. And he was such a dynamic figure, such a tyrant, that the nurses used to throw up before surgeries. They were just terrified of this guy, scared to death of Dr. Pal Dahl, right? So, but he got, as Swami will do, Swami brought him in. You know, Swami knows our future. He knows when he selects you to come into the organization, it's because he knows you're going to be good at it. You know, he brings us in. And so Pal Dahl got involved with a few Sai activities and heard about Swami and everything and started going to the Sai Center. And he had the opportunity to become the head of the hospital. Dr. Dahl had the opportunity to become the head of the hospital and was trying to decide whether to take the job, become the head of the hospital or whatever. And one morning he woke up and he had a yellow streak of vibhuti down his forehead that he didn't know what it was or anything. So he called up his Sai devotee friend and said, "There's this yellow vibhuti on my forehead. What is this from?" He said, "Well, that's Swami protecting you." Oh, that morning he went out for his morning jog, and he ran out of his front door and fell down and broke both of his collarbones and his arms. Needless to say, you can't operate if you have two broken arms. And it forced him to rethink his life, and that was what set him on the path of becoming who he is now, a great devotee whose whole mission in life is Sai education. So that's what Swami does to us. Once we get into his fold, he changes us into great devotees that are concerned about other people and that put our lives in his hands. I'm going to show you a film now about, Jagadishan has said there are many service organizations in the world. There's a lot of service organizations in the world, many of them doing some magnificent work. But he said, Jaga says, we know the avatar, we're in his fold, we're supposed to be following his teachings. Shouldn't we be doing some really good service? Shouldn't we be doing some really wonderful things in the world? And so this is the service that Jaga's center does in Kuala Lumpur. And the interesting thing about this was the service that this group is doing, they never let them take so much as a snapshot. No cameras were allowed. And they'd been doing it for 13 years when I was there. As a matter of fact, the former president of the Sai Center in Hollywood did this service as a boy. That's how long they've been doing this. And so they didn't want any, but they didn't want any pictures. So I showed up with this big camera, and the devotees were saying, you know, they're not going to let you take any videos. We've never been able to take so much as a snapshot. And I said, well, let me ask them. So I went into the office with a big camera like this. Well, let me take some videos. Yes, sir, go right ahead. Swami knew you'd be seeing this today, see. Let's see if we can make this work. I don't know how the audio is. There's the audio.
We are in a handicap home. This particular home is catering children and adults who are physically and mentally handicapped. Centers from Kuala Lumpur come here every Sunday at
around midday, and we do the following services. We wash the clothes the children are wearing. So a group of ladies will be washing these clothes. Though they have a washing machine, normally what they do is they dump all the clothes into the washing machine without removing all the dirt in it or the feces in it. We remove the feces, we wash the clothes, put in a disinfectant, then subsequently we dry it. We clean the beds, we take the mattresses out, we dry them, and we wipe the beds with soap and detergent. We carry all the mattresses out, we dry it, and after that we wipe with soap. The first person, one pail, we have soap water, we wipe with soap. Subsequently we wipe with a disinfectant. This is also done every Sunday. About 7 or 8 devotees involved in this particular activity. The children are taken for a bath, we wash them, especially their hair, because their hair will be all messed up with feces. Shampoo their hair, the bodies. Some of them, they're so crippled. There were cases when there were maggots in between the thighs, and most of them have sores. Skin problem. We will give medication after the service. Once they're bathed, we dress them, feed them. Put them back to the beds, talk to them, say a prayer before leaving the place. This is an ongoing affair. We have been doing this for the last 13 years. We need a minimum of at least 25 devotees to do this service. But normally we get somewhere between 30 to 40 devotees turning up for this service.
I had tears when I filmed that. I had never seen anything like that. I'd really like to touch on education, because I've seen a lot of Sai schools, and all over the world, by the way. My favorite school is Victor Kanu's school in Zambia, in Ndola, Zambia. And I've been to Zambia 5 times. I love Zambia, and I really love that school there. And I've been to a lot of different schools all over. And there's some interesting things about the Sai schools. Most of the communities that they're in now did not want them at first. They would think, what do you mean a free school? What's your angle? You're trying to make Hindus out of our kids or what? And so every place was skeptical. As a matter of fact, one minister of a school in Africa was trying to prevent the school from being there in his community. And then later, he was after the school got going, he was trying to pull strings to get up the waiting list for his kids to get in there after they see what it is. There's a school in Indonesia, the man told me, which is a Muslim country, very strict, and he wanted to start a school there and call it the Sathya Sai school. And the mullahs in that area said, well, you can't call it Sathya Sai school. You can call it anything you want, but an Islamic name, but not Sathya Sai. And he got really upset. But then he remembered that Swami had said to him in the interview room, don't worry about my name. And he realized what Swami meant. And so he went ahead with the school. And after 1 year of the Sai school being there, the mullahs came to him and they said, you know, we've been thinking, you can call it the Sathya Sai school. Because they could see that it was not trying to convert anybody. As a matter of fact, a similar situation happened in the Massey country. The Sai school there was constructed, and it was very strange for them in this Muslim community outside of Nairobi in the Maasai country. The boys there were all, majority of them were Muslim boys. And so the mullahs, after they built the school and got going, the mullahs came by one day and said, we have these boys are Muslim boys and they have to say their prayers at noon every day. So what we want to do is we want to come by and take the boys out of the class and take them to another room and let them say their prayers. And the headmaster said, I'm sorry, but we can't do that here. And they said, well, you don't understand. These are Muslim boys, and they have to say their prayers at noon every day. So we're going to come by, and we're going to take them out and put them in the other room. And they said, we can't do that. But what you can do is you come by and say the prayers with everyone. And so they say the prayers with the Muslim boys, and then I saw them singing Ganesh bhajans and things like that. So what happens in a Sai school is that they learn the love of all faiths. And because you see, if you take boys out and you take them into another room and they say their prayers and you say your prayers, that doesn't help the situation. There's a story I forgot to tell yesterday about the village service. We were in a tribal area, and they were remaking this particular village, and they'd already installed toilets, and they were doing some wonderful things there. And they told me that when they first came there, the villagers, these tribal villagers, worshipped these two stones. And I saw them. There were these big stones that had snakes on them, and that's what they worshipped. So what do you think the devotees did? They built a temple for their stones. If in my faith, in the Christian faith, they'd have been doing their darndest to convert them. You don't want to be worshiping stones. No, they built a temple for their stones and prayed with them, you know. That's the difference in the Sai organization, the acceptance and love of everyone. You worship, you fall down on your face when you pray, and we stand up when we pray. What difference does it make? We got the same God, and we're all brothers and sisters. And that's how Swami is uniting the world with this love of everyone. You're a little, well, you know, basically people are tribal. We're still tribal, you know. We got Republicans and Democrats and all kinds of tribal situations going on here. You know? So how are we going to unify? This is what Swami is doing. He's unifying us. And I was in Nairobi, and they had built a Sai school in a really, they call them informal settlements, but I call it a slum. Well, it was really a very dangerous place. It was so bad that they would rob the teachers at first who would go there. And they had given the devotees the back half of an abandoned church in this area, in this very, very scary area. And in the back of this church, the room was about this size, and they had an area not quite this big, and there were 7 classrooms separated by large sheets of cardboard and little tiny benches and tiny desks, and little children sitting at the desks. And they made it into a Sai school. And one of the teachers was telling me, she said, we are having such joy teaching these children. And they told me two stories. One boy brought his mother to school one day, and they had given every family a food packet. And the boy brought his mother to bring the food packet back. And the teacher said, no, you can have that. That's for you and your family. And the little boy said, no, she can't. And the teacher said, why not? She said, because she took two. She had taken one and stolen another one. Another boy brought his mother to school one day. And the teacher said, why did you bring your mother? And she said, well, she told a lie. They had put such values into the children that he didn't want his mother to be a liar. So this is the kind of way that Swami is changing us. Now I've got another couple minutes. I got another short film to show, and this is Swami touring they had set up in the Purnachandra an EHV exhibit. I believe this was 2006, was it? Or 2008? 2008. This was in the summer, Guru Purnima 2008. And they had filled the whole Purnachandra with displays from all over the world of Sai schools and Sai education. It was a wonderful, wonderful display. And I was in my room frantically trying to finish a film about Sai education. And what's really funny, I'll show you the first couple of shots to show you what I'm talking about here. And Swami was coming, but before Swami came, you'll see these little angels. See these little angels? These little angels stood there like that for 3 days, 3 different times. Several hours they would stand there holding their bowls like this, not speaking to each other, not distracted, completely focused on holding their little flowers for Swami and waiting for Swami to come down this aisle. And then they also had some on the other side. These children were all in their native dress, and they stood there for 3 days. Now, I won't pretend that Swami was waiting just for me, but they kept telling Swami, are you coming to see the display? And Swami said, I'll come when it's ready. And they said, well, Swami, it's ready. We're ready to show you the thing. I was frantically in my room trying to finish this film. The film wasn't ready. So the next day they asked Swami, are you coming? He said, I'll come when it's ready, yes. He said, Swami, we think everybody's ready. They're over there now. He said, I'll come when it's ready. The third day, I finished the film. and I came and I set it up in the room and everything. And Swami said, yes, I'll come. And so these poor children were waiting for 3 days like this in 3 separate times, all dressed up, ready, waiting for Swami. And so I don't want to show you the whole thing because it's kind of long, but then when Swami came, he gave a tour of the whole place. And then he came, he looked at more displays, like this, and everybody showed him from the different countries what he had done. And then they brought him into the screening room, which we'd constructed, and he watched the film.
Has said that a golden age is coming, when all men will live as brothers.
And then all the dignitaries were there, of course, all the big shots. And then he watched some more displays. Everybody from everywhere was showing Swami what he had done. And he stopped and watched. We had films playing all around. I made a film in Zambia, made the Thailand Sai School, and he stopped and watched each one of the films. There's Joe. And Bernice, John Boehner. It was like an old home week. Everybody was there. We had a wonderful time. And we got a little surprise for you here, because one of your very own is there too. There's Genevieve Kanu from the Sai School in Zambia. See? And he would sit and watch the films. This is the film I made on the Sai School in Zambia.
A school that is located.
And Swami was watching these. Let's see, I think it's coming up. Yeah, it's coming up now. Watch this. You'll recognize somebody here.
Does not charge tuition.
There's Krita. And then Swami left.
Swami did teaching from South Africa, from USA, so respecting parents, activities from Brazil. Stories from US. Poems and children, all
And they had the Arati.
Obstructing the view, sir. Get out now.
I almost stepped on some of those flowers there with those designs. got one more really nice short film, only 3 or 4 minutes, that I'll show as I'm wrapping up. But before I do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Golden Age. Because I have seen so many wonderful things that, do you know what, in a nuclear reaction, do you know what critical mass is? When a nuclear reaction reaches a certain level, it explodes, a nuclear blast. You know, if you, and that's why you have a nuclear, what do you call it when it makes electricity? Reactor. A reactor. If you have a reactor, they put the lead rods down there to keep it from blowing up. It's a nuclear reaction that's slowed down. But when it gets to a certain level, it gets to what's called critical mass, it becomes a nuclear bomb, a reaction like that. So what has happened in the Sai organization is we have reached a critical mass. And you may not know about it because Swami we don't have an 800 number in a cable show taking up donations and things like that. Everything is done quietly, beneath the surface, not looking for name and fame. All of our service activities are done in that way, not looking for anything back. We don't have a public solicitation of funds or anything, so you don't see everything that's going on. But I have. I've been all over the world, and I'm telling you, we have reached a critical mass, and there's nothing that could stop the Golden Age. If you tried to stop it now, you would not be able to, because there are so many devotees, there's so much love. You can't imagine all these things you're seeing is going on all the time, every day, and somewhere in the world, these wonderful things are happening. So there's nothing that can stop it. How long will it take? Who knows? But the Golden Age is definitely going to happen. You know, Sharon Sandweiss was in an interview and said something to Swami about, you know, Swami, if you had not come, we'd be in a terrible situation. And Swami got very serious with her and said, yes, if Sai had not come, all would be lost. And what he's doing is he's changing the vibration of the world through us in our you see, the world, according to what Swami said, the world is a projection from within. Everything that you see is actually inside of you, and you're projecting it onto the world. So if we change our hearts, if enough people change their hearts, it changes the vibration of the world. Just like if Swami were here, the vibrations would be changed. We can change other people that way. So, do you know the story of the 100 monkeys? Has anybody told you the story of the 100 monkeys? I'm not talking about the Hollywood Center. I'm talking about, this was actually a scientific experiment. I believe it was in the 50s. It was on an island in the Pacific. And the scientists were studying this group of monkeys, and they noticed that some of the monkeys would dig up these roots and potatoes and things out of the dirt, and they would wash the potatoes off in the stream because they didn't want the sand in their mouth. And they discovered on a nearby island, which was too far for the monkeys to have known each other, the other monkeys started washing their potatoes off in the stream. And so what this is a collective consciousness. We're part of this collective that Carl Jung talked about, that you're part of the collective consciousness. And so by us changing our consciousness, it changes others automatically. And so that's what Swami came to do, is to change us in order to change the world. Because if there are enough of us, we'll change the consciousness of the world. So, I've got one last thing to show, and then we'll finish. Let's see here. Now, this is actually in slow motion. You've heard of green rings. This is Swami making a green ring for Angelica, who is now the president of the Hollywood Center.
Devi Prapanarti Hare Prasid Prasid Mata Jagato Khilasya Prasid Vishweshwari Pahi Vishwam Twamishwari Devi Characharasya Sarvabhuta Yada Devi Bhakti Mukti Pradayini Tvam Stuta Stuteye Kava Bhavantu Parmoktaya Sarvasya buddhirupena janasya hridi samstite svarga parvargade devi narayani namostute Kalakashtadi rupeno Harinam pradayini Vishwasya bharata shakte Narayani namostute Sarvamangalmangalye Shive sarvata sadhike Sharanye trambake gauri Narayani namostute Srishti sthiti vinashana Shakti bhute sanatani गुणाश्रये गुणमाये नारायणी नमोस्तुते शरणागत दीनरता परित्राण परायणी सर्वस्यार्ति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते
Dr. Shaw. Did I tell you the story about the Sai student in the restroom? Did I tell you that story yet? Let me give you why I worship Sai students, Sai boys from the university and girls from Anantapur, why I worship them. I was filming one birthday, and there's a men's room off to the side where you can go, you go out of the mandir and you go next door to go to the bathroom. And so I left my camera position and I went in there to the bathroom. And there was a young student standing there. When I finished and was ready to leave, he was still standing there. And I thought, he must be here to help. Some old man comes in and needs help. I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, are you here? And are you a Swami student?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Are you here because maybe some old man comes in and needs help?" He says, "Yes, sir." I said, "You're the hope for the world." What university on this planet makes students like that would stand in the restroom while other people are in there watching Swami? You see what I'm saying? And they're the hope for the world. You take one of these students and you put them in a situation, and it's like I was telling earlier, they will change the vibration of their entire environment. When the two boys came to Loma Linda University, Swami sent two boys to study hospital administration to Loma Linda University in Southern California. Before they were done, they had a bhajan group in the dormitory with guys that had never heard bhajans before, right? They had a bhajans in the hallway. They had vegetarian food in the cafeteria, and they just, and they wouldn't take and they worked in the school, and they tried to give them checks for their work. They said, "We don't need your checks. We're grateful for the education we're getting. We don't need any money from you. This is our service to do." And so when they left, they'll forever remember those two boys, see? So that's what Swami is creating in all of his universities, in his 100 Sai schools in India that you saw, the large, huge numbers of students that are graduating from his Sai schools. They'll raise families. They'll be mothers and fathers, and their children will have families. So that's how Swami is changing the world. And so now I'll turn it over to Dr. Shaw, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank